All right. Welcome back to History and Coffee. I had some interest recently in my older this is about a year ago now, videos about the history and sort of outcome of the Rhodesian Bush War. And that is like sub-Saharan Africa is really the focus of most of my research. Um, and doing that a number of years, I've amassed a bit of a collection of surplus and things like that from the conflict. So I figured I would go over my collection and talk about the standard equipment of the Rhodesian Bush War. So I will start with the firearms, and I'll tell you sort of what to look for in Rhodesian. Anyway, yeah. So we'll start now. The standard infantry rifle of the Rhodesian security forces was the metric pattern FAL, and this is a sort of a mix master I put together. But anyway, when the war first started, there was some of the British inch pattern FALs in the country, the L1A ones, and they hung around for a while. You see them poke up here and there in period photographs, but the majority of the military had these metric pattern FALs. This particular one is it's actually a Rhodesian lower, most likely made in South Africa, with an imbel upper. So one of the now there's a couple of unique things about Rhodesian FALs, and I know Larry Vickers has a video on this. It's going to be a lot better than mine, but I'm just going to go over it real quick. First of all, most of the Rhodesian FALs, came from either the factory in Belgium, the FN factory, then were sold to South Africa. They were then sanitized of their South African or Belgian markings and then sent into Rhodesia. So you'll see on receivers, they'll be like milled out markings or scratched off proof marks or things like that. The only markings that will be really legible on real Rhodesian FALs will be these sort of electro-penciled serials that start with an RA, and they'll be on all the major components, lowers, barrels, blah, 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 etc. So the next thing, during a training exercise, they had a soldier running around with this and the carry handles flopping, and he fired, and a piece of brass actually bounced off the carry handle, hit him in the eye, and blinded him. So they ordered that all these carry handles be chopped off. This one has a sling because I like having a sling. Rhodesian FALs generally didn't. They generally took this front sling swivel off completely because it rattled in the bush. And then grenade sights. They all had grenade sights. Rhodesia being a small country, very little armor, their doctrine, conventional warfare doctrine, relied very heavily on the use of anti-armor rifle grenades. So the idea of a squad of men being able to sort of suppress a tank with grenades was their best bet, considering a lot of their neighbors had some pretty impressive numbers of surplus Soviet armor. So that was a big part of their training. So that's the FAL. Again, you'd see these coming in from Belgium, South Africa. There was even a lot that were made in Pretoria that were sent in as aid. Now, the next most common gun is not this one. That would be the H&K G3, and those again came in from South Africa. And I don't have an example of that, unfortunately. Let me get the light here. They weren't too well liked from what I've seen in primary source and just talking to veterans. They the front handguard rattled, they heated up. They were a little bit shorter and more compact, and that made them popular with the mounted troops of the Gray Scouts, which were sort of like a very highly mobile, quick reaction force involving like the border, basically border patrol on horseback, with a little bit of sort of cavalry thrown in. So they seem to prefer the G3. I guess I would assume it's from the size, because I don't know if you've ever shot a fowl next to a G3, and I know this is a matter of opinion, but the G3 is a little bit abrasive. It's not as pleasant to shoot. Reliability and all those arguments and things like that, I have no idea, but just sort of personal experience. Next would be the M16A1, and this is a reproduction. It's not an original. These were floating around the country, not in as great numbers as the fowls or the G3s, but they were used in police forces, basically, like the British South African police, which was Rhodesia's military police force. Guards used them, sort of private forces. That's another thing too, is the mercenaries thing. There's this, for some reason, there's this collective sort of memory of Rhodesian mercenaries, and that really didn't happen. You could get a job in Rhodesia for a private person guarding their property, business, or farm, but that generally didn't pay very well, and it wasn't like some like we'd think of in Western culture as like a mercenary, where they're soldier of fortune. You could, as a foreign national, move to Rhodesia and join the army, but you were a Rhodesian soldier. You were not anything special. You got the same pay, same training, same treatment. Not a mercenary. You were a soldier. So, and there was quite a few of those in the country, especially once you got into the 70s and things like that. A lot of Americans, which will bring me to why there's some M56 webbing here. Anyway, so yeah, M16A1s definitely floating around, various different configurations. Next would be the I wish I had an example of it, but the Mag 58, which was a belt-fed 7.62 caliber machine gun. And that was crucial to Rhodesian military doctrine. I haven't watched my old video in a long time, but I'm sure I addressed that. Essentially, a squad was called a stick, and it was a 4-man element. 3 of them would have fowls, and the fourth man would have the Mag 58 machine gun, and every man would carry a belt of ammo for the mag in his butt pack. And basically their job was to feed that machine gun so that he could fix an enemy element in place, and then air support could destroy them. So, all right, web gear. Now, the web gear of the Rhodesian Bush War is... Now, you're looking at this and seeing all these mixes of colors and styles and patterns, and that's exactly what it was. You had stuff from all over the place. Again, there was an embargo and shortages, and so it was what you could get. You have the probably the 2 most prolific would be the Rhodesians' homemade pattern 69 webbing, which it was available, but it wasn't the most durable, and it generally wasn't. It wasn't liked too much, especially by soldiers that were really sort of, like Rhodesian light infantry guys and dudes that were really in a lot of combat. This stuff tended to wear out pretty quickly. The next most common would be this. This is British pattern 61/64, or I'm sorry, South African pattern 61/64, I believe it's called, web gear, and it's based off the British P58 webbing that came out, Cold War. And it's these ideas of basically these universal... You see the Rhodesians were going for just a foul magazine pouch, where the South Africans copying the British. The British idea was, to be able to carry Lee Enfield Chargers or Bren gun magazines or L1A1 magazines, basically anything you want What the Rhodesians did was stuff socks in the bottom of it, use it for foul magazines, or use it as a radio pouch. Now these are this pattern 69 stuff I have is reproduction. The color's a lot lighter than it would have been, but like I said, because of the durability, even a lot of that didn't even survive the war, and here we are, many decades later. It's very difficult to get your hands on it. This South African stuff is original, and then of course the butt pack here. The South African ones are unique. They are styled after the British P-58 ones, but the South African ones have little pockets on the side for Mills bombs or grenades. And essentially, one of these, it's a double pack arrangement. One would have a belt of ammunition for the Mag 58, and the other one would have some personal items, crap, toothbrush, things like that. So. Again, these are not original Rhodesian or South African canteens. These are American canteens because, again, that's something that's very difficult to find. All right. This mag is an example. This is an FAL mag, and it's an example of the paint scheme that you would start to see developing towards the late phases of the Rhodesian Bush War. Now, we like to remember... when you look up pictures of Rhodesia and things like that, you see guys in those little short shorts and sneakers running around, and that went away pretty quickly as the war really ramped up. There were some serious uniform standards in place. Everybody had to wear this standard brushstroke uniform with long trousers. They had to wear boots. Their rifle, all their equipment had to be painted with this standard paint color. It's actually aircraft paint. I'm sorry, automobile paint. And they painted everything with this shit. Everything. And if you were a white soldier, you had to paint your face too, because it stood out. You'd be a target. So yeah, that when you see those pictures of guys in the short shorts and all that stuff, that was either early war or special forces like CELU Scouts or I can't remember the other. It's like British South African Police Special Branch. I'd have to look into it again. So this would be the most numerous thing you would see here would be a mix of this South African and Rhodesian webbing in a brushstroke uniform, painted, etc. Standard South African R1 cleaning kit. The R1 is what they called the FAL. Standard bedroll cover. This would hook up under the back of the butt pack there. Standard metric FAL bayonet. Next, this American, this is I'm used to saying pattern. In the U.S., it's an M56 LICE, or load carrying equipment, and this was designed after the Korean War to come up again like what the British were doing with a standard ammunition pouch. And this is designed, of course, to carry M1 Garand clips, M1 carbine magazines, or M14 magazines. And of course, by the time these things were issued in any numbers, U.S. soldiers were issued these M16s. So they fit 3 20-round M16 mags in them fairly decently. Again, you might want to stuff a sock in the bottom, but these were these were a lot more durable, again, than the Rhodesian stuff. They fit FAL magazines a little bit better than the South African stuff. They were pretty rare in the Rhodesian Bush War, but they were definitely around. Again, a lot of American soldiers decided to join the Rhodesian army after they came back from Vietnam and got, shit on basically by the American public. And so they said, well, I'm just going to go keep fighting communism. That's where a lot of that mercenary bullshit comes from. But no, they moved to Rhodesia and joined the Rhodesian army. I believe it was 3 Commando of the Rhodesian Light Infantry had I think it was 40% of it was American expats. But they brought their webbing with them. And again, you'll see mixes of webbing like this South African Rhodesian, then you might see an American M56 pouch in there somewhere. And the guys that could get their hands on this stuff, they clung to it because it was it was good stuff. And I got to tell you, having I've of course tried all this crap on, and I got out of all these, the American is definitely the most comfortable and the most I guess ergonomic. It's a little bit heavier, but I think I'd trust it probably over this jazz. So again, ignore this. This is a reproduction from Fire Force Ventures from a long time ago when they were still doing the Chinese crap. This is the newer stuff. It's a lot better. It's expensive, but it's worth it. Anyway, so hopefully that covered equipment, weapons, a little bit of history of the Rhodesian Bush War. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.